In this video, we're going to identify the uses of percents and define terms related to percentages. Let's look at the first question. Describe the three basic uses of percentages and give a sample statement that uses percentages in each of the three ways. So what is one way to use percentages? Percentages can be used to express a fraction of something. For example, out of 15,000 employees, 3% lost their jobs. A second way to use percentages is percentages can be used to describe a change in something. For example, the cost of milk rose 5% within the past month. And a third way to use percentages is percentages can be used to compare two things. For example, a car costs 25% more, but gets 10% more miles per gallon. So that's C. Now let's distinguish between absolute and relative change and give examples that illustrate how relative change is calculated. So absolute change describes the actual increase or decrease from a reference value to a new value, and relative change is the size of the absolute change in comparison to the reference value and can be expressed as a percentage. So that's D. And then an example that illustrates how a relative change is calculated would be C. If a new value is 50 and the reference value is 20, then relative change equals 50 minus 20 in the numerator divided by 20 in the denominator times 100% is going to be 150%. The next question is almost exactly the same thing, just a little change in wording here, but distinguish between absolute and relative difference. They're just using the word difference instead of change, and give an example that illustrates how to calculate a relative difference. So basically the same question. Absolute difference is the actual difference between the compared values and the reference value. Relative difference describes the size of the absolute difference in comparison to the reference value and can be expressed as a percentage. And give an example that illustrates how to calculate relative difference. If the compared value is 50 and the reference value is 45, then the relative difference is numerator 50 minus 45 divided by denominator 45 times 100%, and that would equal 11.1 with a repetend bar to show that the 1 is repeating over the 1 in the tens place percent. So that's B. That's the same thing as 11 and 1/9%. Explain the difference between the keyword of and the keyword more than when dealing with percentages, and how are their meanings related. The keyword more than is used to express the relative change between the reference value and the compared value. The keyword of is used to express the ratio of the compared value to the reference value. So that's D. And then how are their meanings related? If the compared value is P% more than the reference value, it is 100 plus P% of the reference value. That's B. Explain the difference between the terms percent and percentage points and give examples of how they can differ for the same situation. So what is the difference between the terms percent and percentage points? Percent is used to describe a relative change or difference. Percentage points are used to describe an absolute change or difference. And give an example of how percent and percentage points can differ in the same situation. So if a savings account that previously offered 2% interest now offers 6% interest, then the percent increase is 200% and the percentage point increase is 4%. So that's D. and give an example to explain why in general it is not legitimate to average percentages. So suppose that 30% of female students and 40% of male students in the college history class are from a major city. If there are 50 female students and 30 male students in the class, then what percent, or I'm sorry, what number of the female students and what number of the male students are from the major city? So let's figure out what 30% of 50 is. That's going to be the same thing as 50% of 30, so that's 15. And then let's see, we want to find 30 male students, 40% of them. So that's going to be 12 are from the major city. Of the 80 students in the class in total, 15 plus 12 should be 27. But let's see what percentage of them are from the major city. So 27 out of 80 times 100%. Grab your calculator for that. 27 divided by 80 times 100%. It's going to give me 33.75% from the major city. The percentage of students from the major city is not equal to the average of 30 and 40, which is 35%, because the number of females and male students in the class differs from one another. They're not equally distributed. All right, that's it for this video, and we'll come back next time and we will keep talking about topics from 3A. See you for the next video.